Hi drummers, hope you're well. Quick video for you about playing left foot hi-hat along with your basic drum grooves. I think this is a really brilliant way of spicing up a basic beat. One thing I've noticed running these sessions here at my studio is a lot of guys haven't ever done this. When I started learning drums a long time ago, 25 years ago, this was something that came up almost immediately. One thing I've noticed running these sessions is, again, loads of guys and girls haven't done this. It's just a brilliant way of enhancing your basic rock groove. And we're talking here in the first case about a straight eights feel, as in. And this would normally come into play when your right stick, if you're right-handed this is, goes over to the ride, or you might be lucky enough that on your kit you've got a closed hi-hat, or you might be playing on the floor tom. I'm going to play this on the ride today. So again, basic straight eights feel, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and what I've got for you here is 4 different possibilities for things you can do with your left foot on the hi-hat. What I've done here as well is stuck a little tambourine on my hi-hat just to enhance the effect. Again, I think this is just a brilliant way of spicing it up. I've lost count really of the number of times, like on gigs in the right setting, where I've thrown this in and people have sort of turned around from the front of the stage and gone, wow, that really enhances things, it gives it a lift. I didn't think of it as necessarily a huge deal at the time, but actually I realise now this is something that can be really, really cool. It gives a great stereo effect. You've got your hi-hat on one side, your ride on the other. It can really, make the whole thing sound a bit bigger and a bit more groovy. So the first of 4 examples is playing just quarter notes, right, or crotchets on your left foot. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So along with your basic straight eights groove, the hi-hat is going to go along with the kick and the snare every single time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hope that makes sense. 1, 2, 3, 4. You even keep it going during your drum fill. And give it a real lift. That's a nice simple place to start, I think. Some guys, straight away, they play that and they go, all right, that's cool, I know what's going on there. Other times, if you're just starting out with this, you might need to go much more slowly and just piece it together. Say to yourself, right, ride cymbal and kick and hi-hat. Ride cymbal on its own. Ride cymbal, snare drum and hi-hat. Ride cymbal on its own, and so on. I always think, never be afraid to slow down, break it down, give your hands and your feet a chance to see what's going on. That's how you build coordination, man. Having the patience to do that, I think, is one of those things that turns people into, really good drummers, really good musicians. Cool. Number 2 on the sheet. Oh, by the way, if you go to the description, there's a link to these four patterns I've written out. Number 2 is just playing the hi-hat with the foot with the snare drum. So on 2 and 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Here it comes. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. This can give you a lovely little effect of just doubling up with the snare. Often this would happen as an overdub on a track anyway. Why not play it live, man? So that's on 2 and 4, groove number 2. Now number 3 here is playing all of the 8th notes. Now here you're going to play the same thing with your left foot as you're playing with your right stick on the ride. Again, assuming you're right-handed. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. If you're doing the Trinity rock and pop grades, there's pressure and time from grade 6. This comes in the chorus. Almost everybody I've looked at this with, they get to that point and they suddenly just go, I've never done anything like this before, and it takes a long time for them to build the groove up. So get yourself prepared for it. It's also, I've got to say, this could be the one I use the most, honestly. I think this gives things a massive lift because you've got your 8s on one side of the kit, your 8s on the other, just driving everything forward. So just like with the others, it might well be that you need to break that down and go slow to build up the coordination at first. I remember getting this one going a long time ago. I think I was about 14 or 15. It was a very long time ago. I remember playing along to Stone Roses' Second Coming, that record, and I don't really remember which track it was, something on side 2, and it was, all I did was I played the ride cymbal and the left foot together, no kick or snare or anything at first, just to get the feel for that. And then I remember very clearly that I then put in the snare drum. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then finally, after quite a bit of time doing that and really sort of cementing that muscle memory, so to speak, I put in. I started to build it up then into a much more consistent thing with the kick and the snare in there. Again, this is the one I use the most, honestly. I think this is great, and it's also really, really cool. If you start getting more busy with your groove, once you get comfortable with this, you can do some cool things like move your left stick across to hit the hi-hat, gives you a little hi-hat burst sound. Really, really, really cool one. Just technique-wise, here I'm using the heel-up technique, as in bouncing on the ball of my foot. Kind of like I would play a bass drum most of the time. So rather than playing it all with the sort of sole of my foot resting on the ground, playing it all using my ankle like a hinge, I'm bouncing on the ball of my foot. Okay, last one on the sheet here is number 4, and this is upbeat or offbeat 8th note. So playing on the ands. Now, when I first started thinking about these, this was definitely the trickiest thing, I think. Either 3 or 4, I can't remember, but this is definitely a trickier one. So again, just take your time with it. Here it's going to sound like this. So on the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and as ever, we'll give it a go at first, because especially if you're experienced at playing it, that might just work. If not, totally fine. Just break it down, talk yourself through it. 2 ways of going about it, really. One is to just play everything all at once and just go really slow. So the first note would be, and just take one note at a time, so it would be ride cymbal and kick, and then ride cymbal and hi-hat, and then ride cymbal and snare, then ride cymbal and hi-hat, and so on. Just talk yourself through it one note at a time. Again, give your brain, your musical brain, your hands and your feet, a chance to see all the combinations. The thing I've noticed most often in all these years of doing these sessions is, we all do this, and I'm totally including myself in this as well, I'm not criticising anybody. We all try to miss out the bit where you actually learn the thing. We all think, and again, I include myself in this, so please understand I'm not criticising anybody how they go about learning. We all think, somehow deep down, I think that there's some magic in playing that will come in and save us. Basically, when things get tricky, there's only one way for me. Slow down, give your brain a chance to see all the stuff, and then a couple of times of doing that, 3 times, a handful of times, whatever it takes, one day you'll sit down and that'll start to come together. So stick with it, that'll work. There is another fun way of practicing this as well, which is to do, a bit like I was talking about with number 3, play the 8th notes on the ride. So ride cymbal on its own, and then add in the hi-hat, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Just to get a little feel for that, and then later you can add the snare. And then the kick. So build it up in layers, if you like. Ride cymbal, then the hi-hat, then the snare, then the kick, or whatever order you like, really. So that's that. I hope it's all cool. I mean, it's really fun. I think I'll recap them. So number 1, these are on the quarter notes. Number 2, just on 2 and 4, reinforcing the snare. Number 3, playing on the 8th notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and number 4, on the upbeat 8ths, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Have a ton of fun with it. Just, again, a brilliant way of enhancing your basic groove. Sometimes in a tune, I think, I think back to stuff I've done in the past, sometimes I've tried to be more busy as a way of adding excitement and bigness to a certain tune I was playing. Often this is a great way. It keeps the groove simple, and but just gives it some extra layer, some extra kind of cool, again, a stereo effect that can really drive it along. Have some fun with it. Any questions about it, give us a shout. Let me know what you think, and get cracking with this one early, man, in your drumming career, because it'll come in later, and if you've already got that grounding, you'll be in business. Thanks a million. Have fun. See you soon.